The trouble with trust is it's quiet. It doesn't ring an alarm when it starts to fade. It just gets thinner, like ice in the spring, until one day you step on it, and the whole world falls out from under you. My name is Tom. I'm an accountant. I deal in numbers, in receipts, in columns that must add up perfectly. My life, our life, was built on a foundation of predictable numbers. Mortgage payment on the 1st, car insurance on the 15th. Friday night was pizza and a movie at home. Saturday morning, we cleaned the house together. It was a good life, a steady life. I thought it was a true life. My wife's name is Chloe. We've been married for 11 years. She's a dental hygienist. She has a laugh that can make you forget a bad day. At least, she used to. Lately, her laugh had become a smaller thing, a private echo I only heard from another room when she was on her phone. The first crack was so small I almost missed it. It was a Thursday. I was reconciling the monthly credit card statement, a ritual as regular as breathing. I liked the order of it, the certainty. I scanned the charges, groceries, gas, the usual. Then I saw it. Cineplex Starplex. $34.50. ***. A movie. That was fine. Chloe loved movies. She went sometimes with her friends from work. But the date was a Tuesday. Last Tuesday. I'd been working late that night, finishing up a quarterly audit for a client downtown. I called her around 7. She'd said she was just relaxing, watching some reality TV, maybe doing a face mask. Just having a quiet night in, she'd said, her voice soft. Miss you. I'd felt a warm glow then. My wife, missing me. Now, the $34.50 sat on the statement. The price for 2 tickets. Not 1. 2. A little chill touched the back of my neck. It was probably nothing. A mistake. Maybe the charge was from another time. I checked the date again. Last Tuesday. Definitely. I finished the statement, but the numbers blurred. That one charge stood out, a red flag in a field of green. At dinner that night, I tried to sound casual. Hey, did you go to the movies last week? I saw a charge. She didn't look up from her salad. Oh yeah. Last Tuesday. I went with Sarah. Sarah was her sister. We saw that new superhero thing. It was awful. She crunched a crouton. Forgot to tell you. It was a last-minute thing. The chill melted. Of course. Sarah. They were close. It made sense. I felt stupid for even wondering. No problem, I said. How is Sarah? She's good, Chloe said, but her voice was a little flat. Same old. I let it go. The ice was still solid. I was just being paranoid. But the thing about being an accountant is you notice patterns. And once you see a discrepancy, you can't unsee it. It nags at you. A week later, I was doing laundry. Chloe was at a dental conference, continuing education seminar. A Saturday thing. She'd left early, dressed in nice slacks and a blouse, her hair done. It's all day, she'd said, kissing my cheek. Don't wait on dinner. As I moved a load from the washer to the dryer, I found a receipt in the pocket of her jeans. It was from a gas station, not our usual one. This was clear across town, near the highway that led out to the state park. The date and timestamp were from last Tuesday afternoon, the day of the movie. Why would she get gas across town on a Tuesday afternoon? Her office was in the opposite direction. And the state park? We hadn't been there in years. The chill came back, deeper this time. I folded the receipt and put it in my own pocket. I didn't know why. It felt like evidence, but of what I wasn't sure. That night, when she got home from her seminar, she was tired but cheerful. It was great, she said, kicking off her shoes. Really informative. She talked about new flossing techniques. It sounded plausible. Boring but plausible. How was your day? She asked. Quiet, I said. Did some laundry. I watched her face. Found a gas receipt in your jeans. From that station way out by the park. A flicker. Just a tiny flicker in her eyes. A half second of something that looked like alarm before it was smoothed over. Oh, that. Yeah. I was running errands over that way after work. Met Sarah for coffee before the movie. She shrugged. My car was on empty. Sarah again. It tied together. It made a story. But stories could be fabricated. I knew that from auditing. You could make the numbers tell any story you wanted if you tried hard enough. I nodded, smiling. Makes sense. But it didn't. Not quite. Sarah lived 10 minutes from us. Why meet for coffee way out by the park? The seed of doubt was planted. It started to grow in the quiet, fertile soil of my mind. I began to notice other things. Small things. She was on her phone more. She'd always been a texter, but now she angled the screen away when I walked by. She'd smile at it. A secret, soft smile I realized I hadn't seen directed at me in a while. She bought new underwear. Silky lace things. Not the comfortable cotton ones she usually wore. I found the tags in the bathroom trash. She hadn't shown me. She'd started going to the gym more. 3-4 times a week. She said she wanted to get in shape for summer. But she'd never been a gym person. She came home smelling clean, like soap, not sweat. And there was a distance. A space between us in bed that felt wider than just inches. She'd roll over, her back to me, and fall asleep quickly. When I tried to touch her, to close that space, she'd murmur she was tired or had a headache. The pattern was forming. Discrepancies. Unexplained variables. I needed more data. I started checking the phone bill online. I'd never done that before. Why would I? We had unlimited everything. I saw a number. It appeared a lot. Multiple texts a day. Calls, sometimes in the middle of the day, sometimes late at night when I was in the shower. The call logs didn't lie. The number wasn't Sarah's. It wasn't any of her friends' numbers I recognized. One night, she was in the bath. Her phone, which was practically glued to her hand these days, was charging on the kitchen counter. It buzzed. A text notification lit up the screen. It was from a number. The preview read, "Can't stop thinking about Tuesday. You looked, asterisk asterisk." The screen went dark. My heart was pounding. You looked what? Happy? Beautiful? Like you belonged with him? I didn't touch the phone. I stood there in the dark kitchen, feeling like a thief in my own home. When she came out, wrapped in a towel, she went straight to her phone. She read the text, her face illuminated by the glow. That secret smile appeared. She typed a quick reply, her thumbs flying. "Who's texting so late?" I asked from the doorway. She jumped, clutching the phone to her chest. "God, Tom, you scared me. It's just Sarah. She's having another crisis with Brian." She forced a laugh. The usual drama. Another lie, stacked on top of the others. The column of lies was getting tall. I knew I should confront her, but a cold, professional part of my brain took over. If this was an audit, and I suspected fraud, I wouldn't tip off the subject. I'd gather conclusive evidence. I needed proof. The credit card charge was a clue. The phone bill was a clue. But I needed the full picture. I decided to follow her. It felt slimy. Wrong. But the not knowing was worse. It was a poison fog filling our house. The next Tuesday came around. She'd been vague about her plans. "Might see Sarah," she'd said. Not sure. I told her I had a late client meeting. A lie for a lie. I left at my usual time, but instead of going to the office, I parked at the library down the street and waited. At 4:30 p.m., her car backed out of the driveway. My hands were slick on the steering wheel. I gave her a minute, then followed. She didn't drive toward Sarah's. She didn't drive toward the movie theater. She drove toward the highway, the one that led past the gas station, toward the state park. My stomach was a knot. I stayed a few cars back. She took an exit before the park, though. It led to a nicer part of town, with tree-lined streets and older, well-kept houses. She pulled into the driveway of a modest, blue colonial with a tidy lawn. She didn't go to the door. She parked and just sat in her car. A minute later, the front door of the house opened. A man came out. He was tall, maybe my age, with sandy hair. He was wearing khakis and a polo shirt. He looked normal. He walked to her car, opened the passenger door, and got in. They sat there for a minute, talking. Then, he leaned over and kissed her. Not a peck. A real, long kiss. I felt the world drop away. The air left my lungs. There it was. The proof. In high definition, right in front of me. The kiss ended. She laughed, that bright, happy laugh I missed. He got out, went back to his house, and came back with a jacket. He got in his own car, a dark SUV, parked in the driveway. She backed out, and they drove off together, his SUV following her sedan. I followed, numb. The professional part of my brain was still working, logging details. Asterisk 4:47 p.m. Subject, met male at residence. Physical contact observed. Asterisk. They didn't go to a movie. They drove to a restaurant. A nice, quiet Italian place with dim lights. They went in together. I sat in my car, 3 rows over in the parking lot, and watched the window. I could see their silhouettes at a corner booth, leaning close, talking. Him reaching across the table to hold her hand. 2 movie tickets. But they were at a restaurant. The lie was so specific. So unnecessary. Why not just say she was getting dinner with a friend? Because friend was too vague. Sister was safe. A sister would explain the 2 tickets, the time, everything. It was a perfect, pre-packaged alibi. I sat there until the sun went down. I watched them leave the restaurant. They didn't hug goodbye in the parking lot. They were careful. They got into their separate cars and drove off in different directions. I drove home. The house was dark and empty. I went to the kitchen and poured myself a glass of water. My hands were steady. I was in shock, I guess. The ice had finally given way, and I was plunging into the frozen water, too cold to even feel it. She came home an hour later. She smelled of garlic and wine. "Hey," she said, smiling. She looked relaxed, happy. "Sorry I'm late." Movie ran long. Then Sarah wanted to get a drink and just talk. I looked at her. This stranger in my kitchen. This beautiful, lying stranger. "How was the movie?" I asked, my voice sounding like it came from far away. "It was okay," she said, dropping her keys on the counter. "A bit boring, actually." She came over and kissed my cheek. "How was your meeting?" "Long," I said. "Informative." I wanted to scream. I wanted to throw the glass of water against the wall. I wanted to grab her and shake her and demand to know who he was, how long, why. But I didn't. The accountant in me was now running the show. The audit was complete. Fraud was confirmed. Now, it was about damage control, about securing the assets, about a proper response. I went to bed beside her that night, lying stiff as a board. She fell asleep quickly, her breathing even. I stared at the ceiling, the numbers and images racing. $34.50. The gas receipt, the kiss in the car, their hands on the table. I had the truth, but truth alone wasn't enough. It was just a number on a page. I needed context. I needed to understand the scope of the betrayal. Over the next few days, I became a ghost in my own life. I moved through the routines, but I was gathering information. I got the man's address from following him. A simple reverse lookup online gave me his name, David Miller. A Google search told me he was a manager at a tech company. Married. 2 kids, from the look of the soccer ball in his yard. So he was a cheat, too. A family man with a secret. It made me sick. I checked our joint credit card statements further back. I found more charges. Dinner at a steakhouse 6 weeks ago. A weekend charge at a bed and breakfast 2 towns over in February, when Chloe had told me she was on a girls' weekend with her college friends. 2 tickets to a concert last fall. The timeline stretched back months. Maybe a year. This wasn't a mistake. This was a second life, paid for with a credit card from her first one. The anger came then. A slow, burning rage that heated the cold shock inside me. It wasn't just the betrayal. It was the insult. The 2 movie tickets. Using Sarah, her own sister, as a cover. Did Sarah know? Was she in on it? The thought made me feel doubly alone. I made an appointment with a lawyer. Her name was Patricia Ross. She had a no-nonsense office and a reputation for being tough. I laid it out for her. The evidence. The credit card statements with the suspicious charges. The phone records. What I'd seen. She listened, taking notes. "Adultery is a factor in this state," she said. "It can affect the settlement. Do you have physical proof?" "Photographs." "I have my eyes," I said, my voice tight. "I saw them." "Eyewitness testimony from a spouse is often viewed as biased," she said gently. "We need something more concrete. Do you think you can get it?" I thought of David Miller's house. His tidy lawn. His soccer ball. I can try. I didn't hire a private investigator. I couldn't afford it, for one. And this was my mess. I needed to clean it up myself. I started watching David Miller's house. Not all the time. Just sometimes, after work. I saw his wife. She was pretty, with a kind, tired face. She unloaded groceries. She played with a little girl in the yard. I saw him come home, kiss his wife, toss the soccer ball with his son. He looked like a good dad. A decent guy. The rage mixed with a sickening pity. His wife had no idea. His kids had no idea. He was risking all of it. For what? For Chloe? One Saturday, Chloe told me she was going to the gym, then running errands. "I'll be a while," she said. I knew. I just knew. I drove to David's neighborhood. His SUV was gone. I parked around the corner and waited. An hour later, Chloe's sedan turned onto a street. She drove right past his house, didn't even slow down. She went to the end of the cul-de-sac and parked. David's SUV was already there, tucked under some trees by a walking trail that led into the woods behind the houses. They thought they were so clever. I got out of my car. My heart was hammering, but my mind was clear. This was it. The conclusive evidence. I walked into the woods, following the trail. It was a beautiful day. Birds were singing. Sunlight filtered through the leaves. It felt wrong, doing this in the sunshine. I didn't have to go far. Just off the main path, there was a small clearing. A fallen log. And there they were. They were sitting on the log. Not kissing. Just talking. Her head was on his shoulder. His arm was around her. They looked peaceful. Like a couple in a painting. They were sharing a pair of headphones. Listening to something on his phone. She was smiling that real, easy smile. I raised my own phone. I took a picture. The shutter sound was off, but they were too wrapped up in each other to hear. The click felt final. I took another. And another. The sound of a twig snapping under my foot made her look up. Her eyes met mine. The smile died. Her face went white, then red. Pure, unvarnished horror. She jerked away from David, as if he were on fire. Tom. David stood up, confused and alarmed. Whoa, hey man. I just stood there, phone in my hand. I didn't say anything. The pictures were in my pocket now. The evidence was secured. Chloe stumbled to her feet. Tom, it's not what it looks like. It looks like you're in the woods with another man, I said, my voice eerily calm. It looks like the 2 movie tickets were for a different kind of show. It looks like your sister covers for you a lot. She started crying. Please let me explain. David held up his hands. Look, this is a misunderstanding. We're just friends. Friends who kiss in cars and hold hands in restaurants. I said, looking at him. Your wife knows you're out here with a friend. David? Your kids. His face paled. He took a step back. This wasn't his confrontation to have. He was just the other variable in the equation. Go home, Chloe, I said, turning my gaze back to her. We'll talk there. Tom, go home. Now. She looked from me to David, who was now studying the ground, wanting to be anywhere else. She wiped her face, grabbed her purse from the log, and stumbled past me down the path, back toward the cars. I heard her start to sob as she walked away. I looked at David. He couldn't meet my eyes. Stay away from my wife, I said, the words simple and cold. I didn't wait for an answer. I walked back to my car. She was already gone. The drive home was the longest of my life. The calm was breaking. The shock was wearing off, and the pain was rushing in to fill the space. My hand shook on the wheel. When I got home, she was on the couch, curled into a ball, her face swollen from crying. I didn't sit. I stood in the doorway to the living room. How long? I asked. She shook her head, crying harder. It doesn't matter. It matters to me. How long, Chloe? A year, she whispered. A year. 365 days of lies. A year of Tuesday movies that weren't movies. A year of me being her clueless rock. What? The word came out broken. I don't know, she wailed. He listens to me. He makes me feel exciting. You and me, we're in a rut, Tom. We're roommates. You're always buried in your spreadsheets, and we never talk. Not really. And there it was. The justification. My fault. I was boring. I was a numbers guy. I was steady, reliable Tom. The rock. The foundation. And foundations are boring. You don't notice them until they crack. So you lied. I said, my voice flat. For a year. You used our money. You used your sister's name. You looked me in the eye and told me you missed me while you were planning to meet him. I did miss you, she sobbed. It was confusing. I love you. You have a funny way of showing it. I took a deep breath. The accountant was back. Time for the bottom line. I've seen a lawyer. I have pictures. From today. I have all the credit card statements. The phone records. This is done, Chloe. Her head snapped up. What? No. Tom, please. We can fix this. I'll end it, I swear. We can go to counseling. The time for counseling was before you started a second life. I said. You made your choice. A year ago. Every Tuesday since then, you made it again. I walked to my office. I came back with a printed list. I handed it to her. It was a list of all the credit card charges I'd found. The movie tickets. The dinners. The bed and breakfast. I'd highlighted them in yellow. You owe half of that back to our joint account, I said. It was marital money spent on an affair. My lawyer says you're liable. She stared at the list like it was a snake. You're suing me for movie tickets. I'm holding you accountable, I said. For everything. I moved into the guest room that night. The next few days were a hell of tears, pleading, and then, as the reality set in, cold anger from her. You're being so cold, Tom. So heartless. Is this all about the money? It's about the truth, I'd say. The numbers don't lie, Chloe. You spent X amount of dollars on Y deception. Now there's a balance due. She told Sarah, of course. Sarah called me, furious. How could you humiliate her like that? Following her? Spying on her? She made a mistake. A year of mistakes. I corrected. Did you know, Sarah? Did you cover for her? The silence on the other end was all the answer I needed. Sarah had known. The betrayal went deeper. Go to hell, Tom, Sarah hissed, and hung up. The divorce proceedings were swift. Patricia, my lawyer, was a pit bull. With the evidence, Chloe had little leverage. She didn't want the pictures shown in court. She didn't want David's wife to find out through legal documents. She agreed to the terms quickly. She had to repay the money for all the date charges. She got a small share of the equity in the house, but no alimony. We sold the house. It held too many ghosts of the life I thought we had. I heard through the grapevine that David did not leave his wife. He chose his family. Chloe was left alone in a small apartment, without her sister, without her lover, without the life she'd taken for granted. I moved to a smaller place, an apartment with a view of nothing in particular. It was quiet. The numbers were simple. Rent, utilities, food for one. Sometimes at night I still see it. The $34.50 on the statement. That one, small, stupid number. The first domino. It wasn't the kiss in the car or the scene in the woods that ended us. It was that. A credit card charge for 2 movie tickets. The lie she thought was too small to matter. But I'm an accountant. I know that small numbers add up. And lies, no matter how small, have a compound interest all their own. In the end, the debt was too big to pay back. All that was left was to close the books.